Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's well. Let me see if I can get Ma'am Hager on here. Hager. Hey, Tony. Hi, Miss Africa Cardles. Hey, Mala. Mala, how are the kids? How are the boys doing? Hey, Celeste. Okay, I'm just waiting for Miss Hager to join us. Here we go. Hey, Miss
Hello.
Hager.
Hi, how are you doing?
How well are you?
I'm good, thanks. Just trying to set up my camera here for you.
Okay. I was a bit surprised. I was wondering who was on the camera. I haven't seen you with straight hair in a while.
I know everybody I've been walking past today has been telling me, oh my word, you look like a different person. I told my husband today also, it's like you're married to two people. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, it is 7:15. Let's get started. Let's see who's here. Miss
So,
Miller. Hey, Libby. Hey, I see Miss Van Rooyen. Miss Van Rooyen, is your baby not keeping you awake? Anyway. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for everyone joining us this evening. I welcome Ms. Hager in the conversation this evening. We're going to
thank
be
you.
chatting about effective routines. But before we start chatting to Ms. Hager about effective routines, I just want to remind you why this group exists. And it exists to share good practices around classroom strategies and also for leaders. And I want to remind teachers that there is no quick fix for strong classroom management. There's no quick fix for fixing poor learner performance. It is literally acquiring as many skills as you possibly can and using the correct ones at the correct
Mm,
time.
for
Um,
sure.
so this evening we're going to be speaking about routines. But before we get there, let's find out a little bit more about Ms. Hager.
Thank you
Ms.
so
Hager,
much.
tell us a little bit about yourself. How long you've been teaching, what do you teach, and where you're currently working.
For sure. Thank you, sir. My name is Kaylin Hager. I have a BEd in foundation phase. I got it at UWC in 2020. So that makes me very much so a novice teacher. I currently teach at a school in Bonteville on the Cape Flats. I teach grade 3 and I am currently the acting department head in the foundation phase.
Are you telling me that you have 2 years teaching experience and you are acting
That is what I'm
department head? I
saying.
mean that in a good way. I mean that in a very good way.
Very much so, sir.
And how has that been for you?
Look, it's been, I never thought in a million years that I would be in this position. But it's been everything and more than I could have ever expected. I don't think I would have been able to be in this position if it wasn't for my awesome colleagues and the support that I've gotten from them. They saw the leadership qualities in me before I even saw it in myself. And also the SMT at my school. So I was so worried when I took this position as acting department head that I would feel small because I'm still young and I only have 2 years teaching experience. But they've never made me once feel that I was anything but great. So I think because I've got the support from my school and my colleagues, it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I'm also aware that you have a family of teachers. So who in your family are all teachers?
So it's actually my husband's family that all teachers love them to bits. But my husband is also a teacher. So the dinner table conversations is always very interesting. I think most people want to leave school at school and their personal lives they continue at home. But in our case, I think it's such a blessing that we both are teachers and we can share this journey with each other and come home and share with each other about the naughty children, or the positive things that happen throughout the day. So yes, it's been really great.
Okay, that must be really entertaining.
Very much so.
Okay, so let's talk about routines. Tell us first of all, what are routines and why do you consider them so important?
Well, firstly, to put it in simpler terms, I always think of a routine as a habit. It's something that you do all the time, consistently. Routines are basically, for me, a classroom management strategy, and I use it to maximize my teaching and learning in my classroom. So yes, that's basically what it is. So.
Okay, so how do you determine which routines are most important and which ones are going to work in your particular classroom? Because I can imagine that routines that are crucial in one space are not necessarily crucial in another space. A routine that's essentially in one grade, in a lower grade, may not be as effective or important in maybe a higher grade. So how do you determine which routines are need to be used in your classroom?
For sure. So basically, routines can work in any grade. So it doesn't really matter if you're in grade R or in grade 12. Routines, I feel like if you don't have a classroom routine, you need to self-reflect and think about why certain things are going on in your classroom. So for me, the most important way of finding out what routines I need to use is to look at my class and figure out what do they need, where are the areas that they're lacking in. If it's maybe the way that they come into my classroom, the entrance routine, maybe it's I don't like the way that they leave my classroom, or I feel that it could be a little bit better and more controlled. It really depends on your own classroom and what your classroom needs are. For example, in my class, I noticed that my kids were coming into my class rowdy, and I had set a routine outside of my classroom, set the boundaries, set the expectations for my learners of what I want in my classroom. We decided on that together, and they know exactly what they need to do now when they walk in and what my expectations are. And like I said, this could work in a grade 12 classroom when you know that this classroom is coming from life orientation and that is a very active subject. So when they transitioning into my subject, they're a little bit rowdy. you as that teacher can then decide verbally or non-verbally on a routine you can use to get your learners calmly inside the classroom. So yes, it depends on the needs that you have in your classroom, sir.
So why would you set the routine? Would the routine just be for classroom management, or is there other reasons why you would set a routine? Let's specifically speak about the entry routine that you just referred to now.
Okay. So
What
no,
would
it's
be
not
your
only,
main purpose?
for sure, it's not only for classroom management, sir. It's also for them to be able to get effective teaching and learning time out of the day or out of the lesson by using that entrance routine. I don't spend a lot of time on getting my learners settled down in the classroom. I don't spend 10 minutes saying, why do you have your bag on your back still? Why are you not standing straight in your classroom? My kids are standing at the table. It gets us quickly into the lesson, whether that is a discussion or whether I'm doing some class board work, whatever I'm doing. It literally maximizes your teaching and learning that you want to take place. And it also makes you a calmer teacher. It puts you in better spirits when you know that your kids know what they need to do, and your kids feel safer in that space because they know I've got a seat, I've got a place to stay. And so, the communities that I teach in, sometimes the home situation isn't always stable, and them knowing that I've got a place in the line, I know that my teacher expects me to do something in a certain way, and the satisfaction of them doing it correctly also boosts their morale, and you just have a better classroom climate at the end of the day. So it's not only for classroom management, it's just to have a better classroom climate.
Yeah, I think you said two very important things there. You pointed out the fact that it maximizes teaching time because you're not having to waste so much time in order to get the kids settled. They are settled outside. When they
Yes,
move inside, there's a very clear set of expectations, and the class can start as soon as possible, thereby maximizing teaching time. But I think our jobs are already very stressful as teachers. Um, so if we can put certain processes and routines in place to minimize the stress and anxiety that we feel, I mean, that can
absolutely.
only help the classroom environment. Because how many times do you hear after break when you're walking through the corridors, you just hear the excited tone of educators
Yes.
around, why is your lunch still out? Why is your bag on your back? Tuck your shirt in.
Oh,
Why are you eating honey? All those things. But if you set it outside, guys, this is where we calm down. This is where we pack our things away. When we go inside, you know exactly what's expected of you. We do this on a daily basis. Girls, you may enter first, or I'm sure sometimes it's the boys that enter first. Okay.
for sure.
Um, um, tell me, what role does consistency play in effective implementation of routines?
Sorry, sir, can you repeat the question? I think the connection was lost a little bit.
What role does consistency play in the implementation of routines?
So consistency plays the main role in routines. I think people don't realize the great impact that having a set of routines in your day, what it actually does for your day. Having a consistent routine and using that same routine every day will create a better classroom climate. Like I said before, your learners will feel safe. You will be able to move easier from task to task. And I think that some people think that if they do a particular thing today and it doesn't work, that they just usually give up. But I promise you that if you consistently tell your learners, whether it's coming out of your ears already, every day I needed to stand in a position in your line. I needed to have your hands behind your back. I have my class for 2 years, so this is the second year I've got them, and I'm still finding myself needing to repeat myself about the rules that they need to have in their line, about the way they walk into the classroom. They know I remind them every day, but just the fact that I'm doing it every day, there is 90% of my learners did it from 2 weeks of doing it every day. And I think that's so important that I wanted to speak about today as well, is whether you've got a routine in your classroom or not, it's never too late to start. I always feel that the best time to start your routine and consistently do it is the first day of school. But whether you're a new teacher starting in the second term or a new teacher starting in the beginning of the year, doing that routine consistently for 2 weeks, I promise you, by the third week, you will be able to just use gestures or a glance of the eye to let your learners know that you have set expectations and they're expected to follow it. So definitely consistency is the main driving force for routines.
You refer to using non-verbals to correct the learner's behavior, so using hand gestures and things like that. And generally, non-verbal communication in classrooms are extremely effective when you want to maintain a very calm, like a calm environment. You know, you want to correct learners' behavior without having to verbalize it. But I think what makes it effective is that the learners know what the expectation is. Hand gestures and non-verbals only really work when there's consistency around the expectations. So when the non-verbal is given to a learner, they know what they need to do. They know what they are not doing, and they quickly correct their behavior.
For sure. And you know, I think something as simple as a greeting, that is for me, it's a sign of respect. And a lot of teachers think, oh, but my kids are too old to do a greeting, or it's going to take too much time out of my day. But I've seen teachers do a fist bump when they walk into the classroom as a sign of respect, and the learners wait for them at the desk. So I think it's just finding what works for you in your classroom. That's a non-verbal thing. Whether you use your fist, I do a countdown, and my learners know once I reach a full fist and I get to 0, I don't need to say a word because they already know what what I expect from them when I get to 0. So yes.
Okay, so what would you say in grade 3 now? Because that's your current reality. What are the non-negotiable routines? I think we already said, you know, sometimes the necessity of routines is dependent on a couple of factors. But for you now in grade 3, for example, in the foundation phase, what are the routines that are non-negotiables for you to get through a day with sanity, maximizing the most teaching time as possible?
For sure. So, like I said, the most important thing for me is the way my learners line up before they enter my classroom. I think anybody who knows me knows that I work on that with my kids until I'm blue in the face, because the way you set up your day before the learners enter your classroom, so that when they're in there, you don't have to still organize them. They already know this is the way I need to walk in, and just setting those boundaries and that expectations before they come in is the first thing I would say. And the second thing would be in foundation phase to have a greeting that you do every single day. Learners know that I feel safe. I know what is going to happen next. And I think that is the most important thing for us to understand, that our little ones, especially in the foundation phase, need consistency. They like to know what's going to happen next. It excites them. So having a greeting of exciting one, or you want to do the whole good morning teacher, you know, how we all do in foundation phase, that is awesome. Because sometimes I find when I don't greet in the morning and I'm a little too busy, my learners are saying, teacher, but you never greeted us. We are standing waiting for you, but you never greeted us. So that is just telling me that this is something that I instilled in them and I can't take it away from them. So I will go and make an effort to greet them every day. And then another one is the way they leave your classroom. You don't want learners to be pulling out their chairs and running off. I think we will all lose our minds if we're going to witness that in our classroom. So establishing a routine, what I usually do is I will allow them to stand first and then decide which row could go first, and then that again leads towards my line up routine, because they would need to line up again, and just that calmness of getting them out, that makes a world of difference. And in some of our foundation phase classrooms, we do have toilet routine and kitchen routine. So again, getting them out, getting them back in throughout the day, whether they're going to PT and coming back all excited from a one task and now they have to go to another subject. Having those set routines and expectations really make your day go very smoothly. So those would be my non-negotiables.
Where did you learn about routines, and what happened that made you determine that routines are something that you need to prioritize for your classroom?
For sure. So I've had the privilege of volunteering at schools and doing my practical at lots of schools, and observing teachers live in practice was just so interesting to me. And I mean, some teachers have excellent routines, and some teachers need to improve on their routines. So you can actually see, okay, what's going to work, what's not going to work. And at my current school, I had the privilege of observing lots of teachers around me, and I had my own personal coach that could help me to um, just drive routines a little bit more, because I had a vision when I started teaching. I did not want to fall over my feet. And the one thing that I've observed from experienced teachers was the way that they had control over their kids. And they did that by instilling those routines before I even got there. So when I was there, it was so easy for me to take over to do my teaching or do my lessons, because those routines were already in place. And I think that's what when I started at the school I'm at, that's the one thing I told myself is I don't know what the learner's circumstances are. I don't know the area, but what I do know is what I want to do in my classroom, and I wanted to have control, and the only way you can do that is to have the support of your learners by continuously being consistent and following up with your routines every day.
What I'm also hearing from you is that routines does not necessarily mean fear in terms
No,
of that,
no,
and there's no fear around. I think what
no.
I hear most about it is that the learners feel safe in the
Mm.
predictability, and the learners feel safe in knowing what the expectations are, and the learners feel safe because they know the teacher is creating an environment where every learner is prioritized, not just the few that want to participate or the few that want to follow the rules, but routines are a whole class activity. So
Yes.
everyone's involved, everybody's creating that environment for
Yes.
effective teaching and learning to take place.
So I
Because
100% agree with you, sir. Definitely. And you know, a lot of the times you think that you need to be the stern person and you need to be, not smile with the kids until the end of the year, because you need to set your dominance in the classroom. I mean, I thought like that at first. Maybe I need to come inside the classroom and, be a angry person to instill that type of dominance in my classroom, but it's really not the case. I think having your learners involved and speaking to them and treating them with respect when you are in your classroom, because they know that they are loved and respected when you do these type of routines, because they're going to be involved and doing it every day. You don't have to be the evil person that you think you need to be. You obviously need to know that you have a teacher voice and how to use it. But you don't have to be an evil person to install routines every day.
um, you were speaking about the fact that you have observed at the school that you were at.
Mm.
There's lots of freedom for peer observations. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that and how that's helped you? And the reason why I'm asking, I think there's a lot of fear and anxiety around being
Mm.
observed. I think some teachers don't feel like they can go and learn from their peers. They're waiting for a management member to once a term for IQMS to come into the classroom and tell them from this very long list of things about what they're doing wrong and then the few things that they're doing right. How has peer observations and having a coach sort of observe you on a regular basis, how has that helped you as well?
So first, I had an awesome, great partner that allowed me, without anybody asking her to, allowed me to observe when I first started. And I think that's so important as a novice teacher, to be able to observe experienced teachers, because you can learn so much from watching someone do something, whether they are doing it correctly or whether they are not doing it correctly. You can learn about the type of teacher that you want to be. And luckily for me, my great partner, she was awesome. She allowed me to observe concepts maybe that I needed a little bit of help, just getting the content across to my learners in a different way, but maybe wasn't working for me. And I had an instructional coach, yes sir. They helped me to strengthen certain skills that I already had. It was just an extra nudge and maybe a little bit advice of what we can do differently on how to enhance lessons. So they would observe me teach once a week and give me feedback on my lessons, and it was always positive things. And I think that's the main thing. We're not observing people to find faults. I think it's for us to grow. And one of the things that I told myself, because I was given that opportunity to go and observe other teachers, is that now in my position as acting department head, I allow the novice teachers and the new teachers to come and observe my lessons, whether it's once a week or twice a week, whether it's setting routines or how to do a whole class reset. It's just to have another set of eyes to think, maybe I can do something, or that's why that's not working in my classroom, because I don't have these things in place. So yes, it was very awesome to have observed other teachers while I was learning.
Yeah. So those of you that have read my post about my first year of teaching will know that it was a horrific experience for me. And I still maintain to this day that your priority as a new teacher, not even a new teacher, just as a teacher, should never be the content that you need to deliver. That is not priority number one, because you can make the best PowerPoints, you can have the best posters, you can have the best big book for reading, you can have all those great plans for your kids, and they're just going to lap up all this knowledge that you have for them. But if you do not have the structure and the routines for your classroom, you are never going to get to those things. I promise you that the teachers that do struggle with classroom management, I think you said it early on, that people need to reflect on why it's not going that well. And I think routines are always the starting point. Whether you are a first-year teacher, whether you are a teacher that's been teaching for 20 years, routines is always that first thing that you get right, and then you focus on the quality of your instruction, the quality of your resources, the quality of the content, and those types of things. When I used to supervise the students from varsity, before I allowed them into the classroom, I would ask them, what is your classroom management strategy? I don't want to know what you're going to teach. I'm not even worried about what subject you are coming to teach. My first question was then, go into the library, go and sit there for the next 2 hours and just reflect on what you want to achieve in terms of your classroom management, and then you're going to come and tell me what you're going to do, and then I will allow you into a classroom, because it's always the first point of call. Ms. Hager, as a novice teacher yourself and as a department head, what advice do you have for teachers? And I'm not going to say novice teachers, what advice do you have for novice teachers? Because I think routines transcends how long you've been in the teaching game. Sure. What is your advice to teachers around routines and get into the core business of what we do as educators?
I think the main thing that I would like teachers to take away, for anybody watching this, if you're a teacher, is that if something is not working, make a change. It's so easy for us to think something's not working, I should just give up. Sometimes it's so easy just to take your bags and leave. But like you said, reflecting on what can I do different. And when you are planning your routines, to just be consistent. Consistency is what is going on? I'm sorry, my internet is going crazy. When you think about new routines that you need to use in your classroom, I think the main thing you think of ways that you can better your classroom. Look what is going right in your classroom, look what's going wrong. So yes, that would be my advice. And something that I took from Mrs. Situkutesi's live with you last week is new routines or strengthening the ones that you do have in your classroom. Be positive about it, because your attitude and the way that you do things with your children, your tone, the way you speak to them when doing these routines. So
I think we didn't hear that last couple of minutes of you, so you're going to have to maybe make a short video for us and maybe post it on the group later on. So I had the pleasure of being Mrs. Hager's principal for about a year and a half to 2 years. And I must say, when I saw teachers struggling with routines, I did take them to Ms. Hager's classroom and I said, guys, let's have a look at what good routines look like and let's look at the impact of those routines. So I know Ms. Hager's always willing to help those people that require it. Ms. Hager, if people wanted to reach out to you to have a chat around routines, how can they get hold of you if you want them to?
no. Sorry, sir, my internet is not going so amazing over here. But if people wanted to get a hold of me, they could email me. I'll put it to the chat box below.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mrs. Hager. I really appreciate you taking the time out this evening to have a chat with me and to share with the people that are watching this live right now and those that are going to watch the video at a later stage. I really do appreciate it. All the best for your career going forward, and we'll keep an eye out for you. Next week, we will be chatting to
Unity.
Mrs. Africa Cardles.
Yeah.
Mrs. Africa Cardles is going to have a conversation with us around how do we structure our lesson in such a way that we improve the rigor of our lessons, but also how do we put the responsibility on the learners for their learning as well. Instead of us as educators hogging all the attention in front of the class, how do we bring them more into taking responsibility around their learning. Okay, thank you everybody. This is Hager. Keep well. We'll chat soon. Bye-bye.